I'm Johnny Ray. This is 5 Hour Recovery, another 4 addicts from addicts, real, raw, unedited, unprepared testimonies of people who have gone through the acts of addiction, gone through the struggles of addiction, and have pulled themselves out of it. You may remember Dan. He's kind of famous already. He did a testimony with his wonderful wife, Amy.
Yep.
It got a lot of views. He has agreed to come back and share a little bit more about his personal story, a little bit more about who he is and what he's gone through individually, and maybe a little bit with Amy in the clutches of addiction and how recover. You might also recognize his son Dustin, who has had an amazing testimony on here. He has produced an amazing story as well. And so, that without further ado, I'll introduce Dan and let him take over.
So I'm Dan. I'm an addict. Nice. Oh boy, I don't even know where to start with this. This is like kind of new. So, as you guys probably seen me and my wife's video, I had to leave some stuff out in that because it's kind of my personal growth and my personal addiction. So, I'm gonna start off with like where I started, where I came from, and go on from there. So, I grew up in kind of a broken family, I guess you would say. It's my mother was struggling with her own stuff, had a husband who was abusive towards me, her, my sister. He was an addict also. That's where my addiction came from. My father, on the other hand, he's an outstanding citizen, never had addiction, never had any of that, had a good, stable life. So I kind of went back and forth between house to house just to kind of run away, you know what I mean? And it got to a point where running away wasn't enough. So I had to pick up drugs. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to pick up drugs.
Nice.
From there, I was off the hook. I was beating up people, robbing people. And this is at, 12, 13, 14 years old. Wow. Like, I was off the chain. I ended up doing 17 years in prison for an attempted murder charge.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Wow.
15, my first daughter was just born. I missed out on, a lot.
Yeah.
And in there's drugs there. There's drugs everywhere, man. And so I didn't really get clean in there either. I got back out, stayed clean once I got out a little bit because I was with my dad. Then I moved back to Washington from Oregon because that's where he lives. And back in it, man. Boom, like that. I was back in it. So got some trouble with some bikers and stuff, robbed them and ripped them off. So I had to leave the state for 20 years. And that's how my son was found. I left here. I went there. I got high for like 6 months.
What state? Where'd you move?
California. I moved to California out to the high desert. And obviously, at that point in time, that was the meth capital of the United States.
Yeah.
It was difficult. Found out my son was conceived, and that's when it changed. Like, it clicked something in my head. Like, you can't do this no more. I got a job doing it, man. Bought a house, bought a car. I was raising my first son was, on his way. And I had no choice. I had to buck up and be a man. So that was going really smooth. And then she ended up cheating on me. And she ended up doing drugs, lost my kids. Like, you've heard Dustin's testimony, lived in a van, eating food off of the hood of a car. That's how she cooked it. And it was crazy. So I took my sons back, and then we fought back and forth, trying to keep whoever's going to keep the kids. And I got back into addiction. I started drinking. And got thrown in jail a couple more times in there, went to prison for 1.5 years. So I decided, Amy's been my true love since I was 15, she was 13. So I decided to contact her and see where she was in her life and see, it just happened to be that she was single, and I said, I want to come home. So I moved back up here. I was clean. I'd been clean at that point 18 years.
Wow.
So
wow, good job.
This isn't my first rodeo, being clean, and I did that on my own, no NA, no nothing, but I was younger, and I didn't put a needle in my arm that much at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't it didn't grab me yet. So I came up here, moved to Port Angeles. I had cancer at the time, so I started taking pain pills, and Amy was taking my pain pills, and then all of a sudden I didn't have enough pain pills. So now I'm buying fucking pain pills, and it just escalated. The guy I bought my pain pills from happened to be a meth and heroin dealer too. And Amy went through some remembering stuff like you saw in our video, and I was like, well, I know how you can forget. Let's just get high for the weekend. World's longest fucking weekend, right? So we relapsed. During this, my kids still at first were doing all right. We bought a house. Well, we didn't buy a house. We were renting to own a house. So our life was good still, you know. It took, I'd say 90 days. About 90 days. We went through about $45,000 out of the bank and lost our place to live. Ended up, like, you know, living in a motorhome over here. And from that point, shit just got crazy. Like, I can't even really tell you when shit switched. I don't remember.
Right.
Like, we went from being this happy, loving family to fucking chaos, dude. Like, I've never hit a woman in my life until I was in my addiction this last time. And I mean, I'm driving down that fucking freeway 70 miles an hour in a motorhome. My wife's beating me in the back of the head and finally slams me with this big ass CB, dude. And I just whipped the wheel with my kids in it. Didn't even care, dude. Like, from there, I said, that kid's got to go. They got to go back. They got to go to my dad's. I can't do this with my kids, too. I don't know where that little common sense came from, but it came there. So my sons went back, and we lost our motorhome. We ended up sleeping in a flower box. The first night, I just had her crawl between my legs and just held her all night crying, you know. I'm trying not to cry. So
It's all good, man.
The memory of that was the worst feeling in the world at that point. I never wanted my wife to live that lifestyle. You know what I mean? And at that point, I wasn't even shooting up yet, really. I mean, off and on, but we ended up going to this place in Marysville, put up a tent that we stole, of course. And my wife was begging me to shoot her up, begging me. And I'm like, nah, I won't do it. I'm not going to destroy your life. I'm already destroying mine, right? So she got her daughter to do it. It changed her relationship with her daughter and ours, obviously, at that point. I cheated on her, and so I'm like this vicious monster when I'm on meth. When I shoot up meth, I become everything I fucking hate, dude. Like, off the chain, I'm not even playing, like, bad. And I would call her a whore every day, dude. Even though I knew she isn't. And she told me, I'm not gonna lie, she told me straight up, she's like, you call me a whore one more time, I'm gonna show you a whore. And I did, because I'm like, fuck, you won't fucking do it, you know?
Yeah.
And she went and cheated on me and cheated on me and cheated on me, trying to make a point, you know? And I just kept calling her a whore and this and that and treating her bad. And we finally got to this point in our addiction where I told her, I said, look, man, something's got to change. And she's like, oh, we're fucking quitting one way or another. So we stole the drug dealer's car, pick up California. And it didn't, at first it was good. I think like, I wanted to say it was good. It was like 2 weeks.
You sold drug dealer's car and it was good. How was this good?
We stayed clean like 2 weeks after we got there. I ran into one of my old connects up there and fucking, it's off the chain. Like, I mean, it was amazing to watch overnight. The progress we had gotten just was gone. It was like it didn't even fucking matter anymore, you know? And we ended up down, we'd been up 2 weeks. We were living on the railroad tracks in Palm Springs right by the casino. And I'd been up too long. She came back to the tent, didn't realize it was her. She had to rip it open because I had tied it shut and shit. And I put her in a coma. I beat her so bad, I didn't even know who she was. So she left. Fair enough. She came back up here. Understandably, she got the fuck away from me because at that point, I didn't even know who I was. You know, she came up here, got with her ex, which just triggered something in me, and I just started off the chain, shooting up massive amounts of cocaine and meth mixed together, and I ended up in the hospital, had a heart attack, had endocarditis. And I got this, it was kind of weird. I was getting out of the hospital that day, and she called me. Somehow she figured out where I was. I don't even know how. And she told me, I'm going into treatment. I'm leaving today. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever, you know. And so my daughter, my oldest daughter.
How old are you guys at this point? Sorry.
This was
I know it's tough to put pieces together in time frames.
3 years ago, so I was 43, she was 39.
And so you guys have been going through this for now. How many years is this?
At that point, it was 4 years.
4
Back
years,
in, after our relapse, our weekend started.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Okay.
At this point, I'm like, okay, so I got to do something. I got to change. She said, look, if you don't get clean and come straighten out your life, I'm getting a divorce. And that's the last thing I want. This is the love of my life. I don't want to lose that. So I'm like, I will be there the day you get out of treatment. I'll be clean. So I stole a truck.
I didn't say I wasn't going to be in a stolen truck. I said that I'd be there for you when you got out.
Right. And this is like 2 days before she gets out of treatment.
You had to think like maybe that wasn't the...
It wasn't. I did a big load of dope, stole a truck, and decided I'm going to drive this truck all the way back to Washington. I get to Weed, California, of all places. And I go into a store and I come back out and it's surrounded by cops. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to prison. So the cop comes over and talks to me. He's not buying my story at all. He's like, look, dude, once we get those cameras back, you better hope to God we don't find you because we're going to put you in prison. I'm like, I'm out. I went over to the truck stop, put my thumb out. First truck picked me up, drove me all the way to Tacoma, Washington. I got out of that truck. I walked from Tacoma all the way to Bremerton so I could be there the next morning for her. During that truck drive, I got clean as I could get, obviously. Mm-hmm. We did great, man. I mean, at first we were like back to normal, like nothing ever happened. It was spot on. And then we were walking down the street one day, and this guy walks up and says, "Hey, want to get high?" I swear to God, that's all it took, dude. That's all it took. Like, I was so weak. Like, we were still living in a tent trying to stay clean. So trying to stay clean in a tent, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I just be real about it, you know. And so
statistics show you're 80% more likely to get clean if you have a place to live.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely, and that's just statistically proven. Yep. Living in a tent getting clean, nearly impossible.
Yeah, in my opinion. And this is wintertime too, so where do we know to get warm? Do a little meth, you're fine.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's better than, it's easier to find dope than it is food. It's easier to find dope than it is warmth.
Absolutely. I mean, so we ended up back over in Seattle, fucking off over there, and we went back to our tent in Bremerton, and somebody had stolen all of it. Amy looks at me and she says, "That's it, I'm done. I'm going back to treatment." So we went and we stayed with a friend of ours over there for the night, and we were both going to go into treatment. Well, the treatment facility there, we had to go through detox over there, and they would only let one of us because we're married. So I told her, "You go. I'll just go kick it with somebody until I can get in after you're out of detox. I'll go into detox." That didn't happen, obviously. She went through treatment. I was still out. I got a job, but I was getting high. My boss was a drug addict, so obviously put myself in a bad situation, and I wasn't going to get through it. So she got out of treatment that night. She's getting high, obviously. So now we're back in our tent over here, and I just lost all hope. Like, I didn't believe there would be anyone, anything that could change me. And I even said it to a lot of people I knew: I'll never quit. There's nothing that can get me away from this needle. I just gave up. I gave up. So she had taken off with a guy because I was being a dick again. And I decided, I had this big old horse needle that I had found somewhere. I don't remember where I got it, but I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to shoot a teener into my femur. That ought to be a good rush, you know? Well, it was for about 30 seconds, and I ended up in the hospital. I was ODing and endocarditis again. So I wake up after being in the ICU for almost a week, unconscious, didn't think I was going to live, and my wife's standing above me going, "If you don't quit, we're done." And the doctor's looking at me saying, "You put another needle in you, you're fucking dead. No questions, no whatever." Does that stop me? No. I come back out, leave the hospital, straight to the drug dealer's house, getting us both high because it's our last woo-ha, right? Mm-hmm. Which, that night, she takes off on me again because I'm being a dick, you know? And I went into the casino and I hit a jackpot. And I was leaving the casino and I remember hearing two voices behind me and then Blackness. I woke up. So it's kind of weird. I've got to tell the whole thing because it will make more sense. Definitely. I thought I was just sleeping. I thought whatever, right? And I could hear Amy screaming, "Dan, you need to wake the fuck up now. Dan, wake the fuck up." And so I did. And I come up and I'm coughing up pond water. They had put me face down in a pond and left me for dead. When I looked around, I heard the cops going, "Oh fuck, he's alive," and they had already put yellow tape up around me. Does that stop me? Hell no. So now I'm on a mission to find the motherfuckers that did this to me, right? And so I got to get high to go, take care of business.
Right. Can't do it.
Right back to that drug dealer's house, putting that fucking needle back in my arm, not even thinking twice. And finally, from there, I ended up getting an assault charge and a drug charge and a couple other things. They let me out of jail the next day, so I'm right back at it, not caring. Didn't care at that point, and Amy found me, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" So we ended up, I had gotten a little bit of money, and we ended up going somewhere, getting high, of course, and I beat her up again. And that's when I looked at her and I said, "I can't do this. I just can't. I lost that control over myself. Like, my morals are gone. My mind was gone. So a little bit about me is I have a multiple personality disorder. When you're on meth, that's not good to have.
No.
I mean, it
enhances it.
It enhances it. And when you got somebody paranoid already, and then you give them dope and they've been up a week, it's 10 times worse.
Very toxic.
So, I was off the chain, dude. I was just, people would look at me driving down the street and I was trying to rip them out of their cars, dude. Like, fuck you, come here, Yeah. What are you fucking looking at my old lady for? What are you looking at me? Fuck you, you ain't better than me. Yeah. So I thought. So, so it just kept escalating and escalating and escalating to this point, and I'm like, I gotta quit. We ended up over at this guy's house that I just couldn't stand the guy. He's Mr. Touchy, and I just don't like it. And I told her, I said, you either go to treatment with me right now, or we're done. I used her words. Fair enough. She wouldn't go, we got in a huge fight, so I did. I left, I went to the Diversion Center. That's the first time. Hold on, there's more once. I went into the Diversion Center, I was there 3 weeks, and they kept, "Oh, you're leaving tomorrow, I promise, we'll get you out of here, Not knowing that there was a plan behind what they're doing this whole time, And so at the time I was on SSI because I had cancer and everything, and they had screwed up my checks because I didn't have an address and I was lying to them, so they stopped my checks, put it on hold. Well, I got $6,000, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go to a casino, right? And my social worker's like, "You're gonna bail on us." I already know. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. I promise, I'll stay right here. I like being clean. And about 5 hours after she said that, I walked right out the front door, took off, went to find my wife. So, and that just led right back into it, dude. 3 months later, I'm trying to go back into diversion. Well, I wasn't trying to. My wife was. She sat there and went through 100 needles and couldn't hit a vein. And she's all, "That's it, I'm done. I'm like, whatever. So, walked downtown and got in a fight with her on purpose so I could go do more dope. And she went to Diversion Center. I stayed out. So I was kicking in drug dealers' doors. I was holding people at gunpoint. I was just this evil monster of a man, And it came to her birthday, and I was like, you know what? I gotta be done. I'm just done. I'm tired of fucking doing this. Well, my social worker ran into me, Heather Banks, who was just awesome, and he told me, he said, "You know what? Your wife says if you don't come to the Diversion Center by tomorrow, you're done." And I realized at that point what the date was, which was her birthday, and I'm like, you know what? That'd be pretty cool to show up and give her a birthday present, be coming in to get clean with her. And so I did. I walked all the way from Marysville to Everett, and showed up at the Diversion Center steps. They asked her if it would be okay for me to come in. And obviously they said yes. And I remember that moment because I was sitting in the Diversion Center, and I was over in the corner over by the TV, and my wife was up there taking her meds. And I'm watching her. She's healthy at this point, right? She's been in there a month. So she's got weight back on her. She looks good, right? And I'm just sitting there, and I got this shit-eating grin, and when she turned around and looked at me and smiled, it was like we were back as kids. Like that first moment when we saw each other, gave each other that shit-eating grin, what's up,
Heart melted.
Right, dude. And I just fell into tears because I realized that she did still love me. And that it was the drugs. And it just seemed to wash away every worry I had. You know what I mean? So Heather Banks comes out, and right at this moment, too, and I'm in tears already, and She says, you're leaving in the morning. I'm like, yeah, whatever, fuck you. Because it took 3 weeks the first time and I never got the fuck out of here, right? So she walks back in her office, she comes back, and it's about an hour later, and they had let me and Amy sit down together, which is very rare for them to do, but since we're married, they allowed us to have a talk together with them supervising. And I was already emotional, and Heather comes in, and I'm kind of frustrated because we had to rehash some of what we had done to each other. And Heather says, you're leaving at 7 a.m. And I'm like, hey, whatever. She's all, you're going to Jotsy at 7 a.m. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, not really believing this was actually happening to me, dude. Like, I wanted it, but I didn't want it, you know, because I was scared. I was literally scared, you know, and I left. I went to treatment. While I was in treatment, I excelled quickly. Like, when I first walked in, I'm like, this place is a shit show. You know, like, oh, fuck, this place is just garbage. And I found God again, which, a little something about me is I am an ordained minister. So me straying away from God was really big to me, you know, and finding him again was huge. Like, that, I have to give my recovery to God, because
Amen.
If he did not step into my life when he did, I'd be dead.
Right, and he was with you the entire time. You just weren't.
Just didn't realize. I mean, there was signs everywhere. Like,
right.
This guy named Jesus stops and gives me $100 bill on the side of the road, and I'm just like, whatever, bro. Right. Later, Jesus. You know, I'm going to get high.
Clean before you're like, holy cow, that was a miracle.
Right, and you know, I get goosebumps thinking about it. You know, and
definitely.
So I went to Jotsy. I was there, you know, and I was in there 21 days, and I'm excelling. Like, they're like, yeah, you'll be out of here in your 30 days, you know, and I remember I was sitting in group, and the guy from the front office comes down, and he's like, I need you and your counselor to come down to the front office right now. I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I do? You know, I can't, maybe I'm going to jail for some of my past shit that catching up with me. Yeah. And I go in there, and they're like, you need to have a seat. Your wife's on the phone. And I'm like, oh, fuck, she went back out. First thing I thought, right? Because now I'm working hard to do what she wants me to fucking do. You better not have gone back out. And I pick up the phone, and the first thing out of her mouth is, honey, you need to sit down. I said, I'm already sitting. What'd you do? What's going on, right? And my youngest daughter tried to commit suicide. That feeling of fear and knowing I'm partly responsible, because she is scared every day for me and her mother. And she just didn't want to live anymore. You know, knowing that, I lost my shit, obviously. Dude, I ran right down my grip and I said, guys, don't let me fuck up. Don't let me fuck up. You know? So I talked to my counselor and I begged, let me go. Let me just go back, you know? I was there 21 days at that point, and they graduated me. They're like, yep, you're ready. You're ready. You didn't run out that front door. You ran to the back instead, you know? And I got back here, and I found out they had to resuscitate my daughter, and that she was going to a mental institution. It was at that moment I realized I can't do what I was doing anymore, because it wasn't just affecting my life. It was killing my kids, literally killing my kids at this point, you know? And they wouldn't let my wife get out. So I had to deal with all of this, like all these emotions, and, you know, and I hadn't even talked to her to my daughter in 5 years. And I'm getting on the phone with this girl after she gets out of the hospital. She's angry. She's sad. She's hurt. And I'm having to take it all, you know? So, and my emotions are raw because I'm just now clean, you know, 30 days in by this point. And I got to go see her. And then she let me have it, dude. I mean, and I deserved every word that came out of that girl's mouth. I took it and was like, you're right. You're right. It doesn't even matter if she was right or not. I'm going to say you're right because that's how you feel, you know? And that's something I've learned is it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel those emotions instead of trying to bury them, you know? And she was in there for a while. My wife got out. We moved in here. At the time, we weren't managers, obviously. We had been here about a month, and they were going to put her into a state institution, which would be a permanent thing on her record the rest of her life. Her church paid $45,000, sent her to Teen Challenge.
Nice.
She comes home in October. A new, improved. No more depression. No more. She's writing us. She's fucking fabulous, you know? And her doing what she did, I'm not going to say was a blessing, but it was a blessing in disguise. Because it changed everything for my whole family. Everything. Like, when we realized it was affecting our children, and I got to talk to my son on the phone again, who also let me have it, which you've heard his testimony. It was like, wow. I didn't care when I was on drugs. Like, my son asked me one day, my other son, Nicholas, who wants to do one of these also. He just asked me, he said, did you even care that we were there? Did you even love us? I'm like, I loved you, but I didn't give a shit. All I cared about was drugs. To have to tell your son that, that's fucked up. That is not something I want to ever tell my kids again. So now I do what I do here. I watch over 40 people who are all clean. We have a great success rate, and it's what keeps me clean. I don't. Anytime I think, I mean, and don't get me wrong, because I'm not perfect by any flipping means. I still think about getting high. I still think about that rush. I still think, oh, could I get away with it one time? But then I remember things like yesterday even. I'm just going to be honest. Yesterday, I was triggered going into Lake Stevens because that's where I used to get a lot of my drugs, and it triggered, I could probably get away with it. And I'm like, nope, I'm seeing Johnny Ray tomorrow.
Nice.
Nice. I got some work to do for a 5-hour recovery, I mean, this is important shit, why did I even get out of there? I went and saw my wife just got a new job. She's working too. So I get triggers. I go through it, man. But I just look back at, do I want to be stuck in a tent? Do I want to be floating upside down in a pond again? Not really. Do I want to have to worry about whether my wife's safe, my kids are safe, I'm safe, literally? It's just, the hustle's not worth it. Right. Nothing's worth it to me. Having a roof over my head, having my washer, dryer, shower, food. Toilet. I got a boat. I got a not brand new truck, new to me truck. Mm-hmm. I mean, and these are things I've done since I've been clean. I wouldn't have those if I was dirty. I'd be out on the streets, fucking miserable, freezing my ass off, hating my fucking self, with no hope left.
I think it's amazing when your daughter gets out in October and she gets to see you.
Oh yeah,
She gets to see you now.
Yeah,
that's
what makes all this worthwhile. Like, I just had a couple move out of here that's been here 3 years. This is not a place to be for 3 years. This is, I've been here almost 2 and I'm ready to get out. But you know what? They moved out because they moved on.
Right.
They're clean. They're
they
sober.
Didn't get kicked out. They moved out.
And I got 3 other people that are getting ready to do it too, that are clean and sober, ready to move on. I got another guy downstairs, clean and sober, ready to move on. It's just like, that gives me hope for other people. And it makes what I'm doing here have the purpose it's supposed to have.
Right.
Because I'll tell you what, this place gets off the hook, dude. And there's times I just want to walk away, but God just says, no, we're not quitters. We're not quitters. You just keep doing it. You got this. You got this. You got this. And it's like my wife had a little trouble at work yesterday. I walk in there and I said, hey, you ain't a quitter. You got this. Yeah. And she snapped out of it, figured it out, and went right back to focusing. And I mean, she misses being here. When she's at work, I'm like, okay. Because I'm at a point in my life now, dude, I'm getting ready to buy a house. Literally buy a house, dude, on my credit. And that took some work, bro, some work. And she doesn't want to buy a house. She wants to buy a big piece of land and put those little sheds on it and make them into homes for people that are, clean and sober and want to stay sober, and let them work off the land to help us clean up the land and make it work, and give them a piece of that land.
It's a great idea.
After a year of being there, let them pay payments to us. I mean,
it's a cool thing.
She's got these hopes and dreams, and I'm there. That's what we're meant to do. I do believe that me and my wife are meant to do what we're doing.
you guys, your purpose has been found. I believe that.
I believe so. I believe so. And it's taken a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of heartbreak. Like seeing somebody relapse, at first it didn't really get to me. It's like, okay, well, they fucked up, you know. But being here around these same people for over a year, you build this relationship and bond with them. And watching them relapse, you realize that could be you. One split second, it can be you. And the only it's all about your choices, man. Like really, for real. Like I was watching your thing you were doing on here the other day. What was that one called? Relive or Relief? What was it?
Relive.
Mm-hmm. And I did. I went in my head and I relived that. And I looked at where I'm at right now. I can't fathom the idea, dude, of being that man again. I just can't do it. Because I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my friends. You're dope. I think what you do is spectacular. That's why I'm here doing this. Because I want everybody out there to know you've got hope. There's always something. Diversion Center. Here, call me. You need a bed? I got beds. Yeah. I'll find a way to get you in. I'll put you on a top bunk. Yeah. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll figure out how to get you jobs.
I will get you into treatment. I'll get you a job. I'll show you how it's done, man. Because you know what? If I can do it, if that guy can do it, my best friend can do it, which you know, anybody can do it, dude. Like, for real. You can be on your deathbed and change your life. It only takes one little bit of hope. So that's why I'm doing this for this guy, because he's awesome. And that's it, man. I mean, anytime anybody needs any help, everybody knows where I'm at. Everybody knows me. NA Halls are here. And Johnny Ray, call him. Call me. Like, I got 4 beds empty right now.
Nice.
Right now.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to come back in the shot just for a minute here. So, thank you, Dan, first of all. What I like about it every time that we interact is how much I learn from you, right? And the reason is because did you hear how many times he said, I was done, my wife was done, I'm done? What it shows is the strength of addiction is like you can come up with the idea that you're done and literally like that, you're right back into doing what you were doing.
Absolutely.
And it could take anything. It could take the losses of houses. It could take the losses of your wife. It could take you losing all your money. It could take anything. He found what his was. He found what his breaking point was. He found that his daughter, that was the thing. That was the I'm done. And that's what it takes sometimes.
Absolutely.
What we do with these stories is we hope that you don't have to get there. We hope that you don't have to get to that before you decide you're done. There are resources and people available. If you want to share your testimony with me, you can email me at 4addicts@gmail.com. If you'd like to give us some input on this video and other things, comment below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Johnny Ray Jr.
Right.
And we're here to help. He's got tools. I've got tools. We want to help people.
We can get your rent paid for months, man.
You're right.
Food, whatever you need, man. That's what we're here for.
And he wouldn't have been able to do that without his story. So thank you, Dan, for your story.
Absolutely,
appreciate you, man.
Anytime, man.
We can even hug on the finger. We're masculine enough.
Right.
And thank you for watching.
Absolutely.